everybody, I'm Lara Trump coming to you from Studio 45 at Trump Tower in New York City. Despite peace and prosperity solutions at a record pace, President Trump still faces the resistance of the media and Hollywood elites at every turn. Joining me to discuss the latest attacks by the left is a conservative commentator and the host of the Blunt Force Truth podcast, Chuck Woolery. Chuck, we are so excited to have you on. Thanks for joining me.
Thanks, Laura. I've never been introduced that way. It's like I'm almost official. I'm always a game show host. I mean, let's face it, that's what I did. But it's really nice to be with you. And when you mentioned that, the left is under President Trump is under assault from the left
all the time.
He's under assault from everybody.
That's true.
I mean, I have never seen anything like this in my entire life, and I've lived 77 years at this point. I've never seen these kinds of attacks. I've never seen the level of attacks. And I must say something, not to be patronizing, but he is amazing, his ability to resist it, to thrive while he's going through it.
Yeah.
I have no idea what makes him tick, but I can't wait to find out. Hopefully I'll meet him this afternoon while I'm at the party, and I look forward to it if I can.
I know he would love to meet you too. Well, I want to hear a little bit more about your podcast. You've been co-hosting the Blunt Force Truth since 2014. Tell me a little bit about it.
Well, we do 2 shows a week. We do one on Tuesday, which is, we just kind of dissect the news and kind of interpret it for people so that they understand what's going on.
It's important to do that, Chuck, because sometimes you don't know what to believe out there, right?
Yeah, you just have no idea. And you're being blasted from all sides by everybody in mainstream media. Even our beloved Fox sometimes falls off the rails. So you have to really kind of trim it down, look at it, analyze it, reiterate it, and kind of put it in what I say, taking the complex and making it simple, which is exactly what your father-in-law does. He's a master at taking the complex and making it simple, which Einstein said was the most intelligent thing to do.
That's exactly right. Now, you survived in Hollywood for 45 years, Chuck.
Yeah.
Tell me what you think about the attacks on the president by the media and Hollywood elites today.
Well, of course, the interesting thing was I have not been there for the last 12 years. I've lived in Texas. I moved to Texas. So I haven't been there for the withering attacks in person that they have. However, I have a lot of friends who are still there, and they do it all the time, day in and day out. Musicians, actors, whatever capacity they have in Hollywood. But it's typical because Hollywood is like a place that's it's full of sheep. And the leaders of those sheep are usually the producers, directors, people who have higher authority than actors in Hollywood, like most places, and they set the tempo and the tone. And so once they set the tempo and the tone, the rest of the sheep fall in line because they want to work.
Right.
And if they don't fall in line, trust me, I guarantee you, they will not work unless they have an extremely bankable name.
Right. Well, I don't know what you think about this, but I think that more and more people see the fake news and Hollywood, Chuck, for what they really are since Donald Trump became the president. What do you think about that? I think he's exposing them.
I think that President Trump has exposed a lot of things that people aren't aware of. And I think you're exactly right about that, exposing that element of the media. But there's something far more sinister that's been going on for 100 years, and that is the progressive movement. We have adopted calling these rhino Republicans. They're really not rhinos, they're progressives. They're out of that progressive party of Teddy Roosevelt back in the early or late 1800s. They all come from Hegel in Germany, who was a political philosopher, and the Hegelites broke off into 3 or 4 different camps. One was Giovanni Gentili in Italy, who was the father of fascism and who Hitler admired, because in the beginning with, people don't realize Hitler really admired Mussolini. Mussolini didn't admire Hitler. There was a real love affair between Hitler and Mussolini, and that's when he really knuckled down and became a fascist. Then the other side of that was Marx, and he became communist. And then the softer side of all of that were the progressive socialists. And that's after the war, which is what England became and Germany became. They morphed into a progressive socialist. So that has been around since the late 1800s. And it was talked about by Woodrow Wilson, people like that, talking about social progressivism, until about 1921 or 22. And people hated it so much that they literally had to come up with another name. So they came up with the name liberal and replaced progressive.
Wow.
Then in 2012, Hillary Clinton is running again, and they're saying to her, well, you know, you're really a very liberal kind of. She said, no, I'm not really liberal. I'm more of a progressive. I had no idea when I heard her say that what she was talking about. So I did all my research,
Wow.
and a lot of people haven't done this, but if you go back, progressivism is about 120, 30 years old. It's socialism, it's statism, it's all of the things that are an antithesis to our founding documents and who we are as capitalists.
I mean, it goes against everything that we know
It
Americans,
is
Chuck.
absolutely the
Wow.
opposite. And now you have a party, the Democratic Party, which has embraced it.
Yeah.
And so they've embraced it, and many on the Republican side and the elites and establishment have embraced it as well and continue to. They haven't just all of a sudden embraced it. They have continued to embrace this for over 100 years.
Yeah.
And that's why we've never been able to come together. And that's why being a conservative in Washington is a very minor position.
Right.
And your father-in-law blew my mind. I thought he was a New York liberal. I did not. I voted for him for president, but I didn't vote for him in the primaries. I voted for someone else.
We'll forgive you for that. That's all right.
Well, the point is, we were all, Mark Levin, you name it, all of us guys who are really very conservative and stick to the Constitution, the Declaration of Independence, and the Bill of Rights. We're looking at Washington, watching Donald Trump emerge as this unbelievable conservative, and I understand why, Laura. I really think I understand why. Your father-in-law is he's an entrepreneur. In French entrepreneur is a French name. In French, bureaucrat is the opposite of an entrepreneur.
Right.
So when you have an entrepreneur in office, he or she will obviously default to a very conservative constitutional position because it's what works.
Right.
And he is a problem solver, and that's how you solve the problems. You don't exacerbate them, you solve them, and that's where he's interested and where government really isn't.
Wow.
And
So
it's interesting to
Chuck.
watch this play out.
I've just learned so much, by the way. Thank you for
For
all
me?
the information. I did. I learned so much. And by the way, it's interesting because you actually look at people like Andrew Gillum, Ocasio-Cortez, the people who are self-proclaimed socialists in the Democrat Party, and then you think back to where it all started and the founding of socialism and what it means and how it destroys countries. And I think once people start to wake up and see that, they're going to realize what is happening to the Democrat Party. And the only way to go forward for the United States of America, as far as I'm concerned, unless the Democrats change course drastically, is as Republicans. That's the only thing we can do.
Yeah, the interesting, I find this fascinating, Laura, and that's everybody says, oh, the Democrats have changed so much. Your father-in-law has done something that no one else has done, and I don't think they acknowledge it either, but I'm going to acknowledge it right here with you. Your father-in-law has literally shown, he has made them unmask who they have been for 100 years, 120 years. So it's nothing new to me. I knew they were there all along. It's just that other people are seeing it for the very first time and going, oh my God, I had no idea.
Yeah. Now, I want to get to your tweet because this week you tweeted that
This frightens me
President...
because I tweet things out sometimes at 2 in the morning when I don't drink, so I'm not drunk, but I'm really sleepy.
Well, you tweeted that President Trump will be the first president you've met since Harry Truman.
That's right.
That is so exciting. I mean,
that
tell me how
weird
you
or
feel
what?
about this.
It's exciting for me because he is the second president I've ever seen that I will have ever seen in my life in person. And the first one, I think I was probably between 5 and 7, closer to 5. And my parents, I lived in Ashland, Kentucky, which is, if you don't know where that is, it's the northeastern tip of Kentucky, right across from Huntington, West Virginia, and Ironton, Ohio. So the train came through, and the president at that time was going to give a speech on the back of the train. My parents hustled me off and my sister. We ran down to the train station. I can remember hearing the steam engine come in.
Wow.
And I can remember they went all the way through, and then the caboose was, facing us, and out walked Harry Truman to give his speech because he was running for president. That's the first and the last president I have ever seen in person.
Wow. Well, we're going to change all that for you, hopefully, very
hopefully
shortly.
Yeah,
And
right.
I know the president appreciates everything, Chuck, that you do every day, fighting for this country and fighting for him.
You know what? He appreciates everybody that supports
does.
him a lot. And I don't think in not just a kind of, oh, I appreciate you. He really does.
He does.
He's very sincere about it.
Yes.
And although he's never said it to me because we never met, but I've seen him say it to other people, and I think he's extremely sincere about that.
Absolutely. Well, I know he appreciates you, and I appreciate so much you coming on the show today and sharing your insights with us. And Chuck, I hope you have a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Merry Christmas, Happy New Year to you, and it has been a pleasure, Laura. Thank you so much for making me a part of your day. I appreciate it.
The media and Hollywood elite may continue their attacks, but the American people will continue to support President Trump and his incredible achievements for them. That's the real news for today. I'm Laura Trump from Studio 45 at Trump Tower in New York City. Thanks for joining us, everybody.